Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. And now, here are Bob and Richard.
Happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to Gambling with an Edge. I'm Bob Dancer.
And I'm Richard Munchkin.
Our guest today is Abe Limon, poker player from Los Angeles. He was on our show last year in June, so if you like what you hear today, you just might want to check out the old podcast. Abe Limon, welcome to Gambling with an Edge.
Welcome, Bob and Dick. Nice to talk to you guys again. It's been a while.
Yes, it has.
As far as I know, everybody calls him Richard.
Oh,
nobody calls him Dick.
Oh, very sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right.
How about Mr. Munchkin?
Yeah, there you go. We should point out that we're doing something a little bit different tonight, Bob, in that we're at the same time that Limon is on our show, we're on his show, which is on Poker Sesh, right?
That's right.
Abe?
That's right. Absolutely.
So I don't actually know what Poker Sesh is. What is Poker Sesh?
Poker Sesh is a podcast that's on liveatthebike.com. It's also airs live on Twitch, which is what all the kids are into.
Right, so if we had video, we could actually be doing this on TV, is what you're saying.
Yeah, people are watching me right now. Unfortunately, they can't see you two. We don't know what you two are up to.
Right.
I'm not thinking that's unfortunate at all.
Right.
Okay, before we talk to Abe, last week in Las Vegas was a table games conference. Richard attended for at least part of it and came back salivating. What did you see?
Yeah, it's almost to the point where I don't want to go to these things anymore because I go look at these games and just, I go from one table to the next going, oh, my God, please let them put this game in a casino somewhere. But, yeah, I went, one of our former guests, Jeff Wang, was there. He has a couple of new games that he's, trying to get placed. And so it doesn't really make any sense to talk about any of the games in particular because maybe 1 in 100 will actually end up in a casino somewhere. But, whenever new games show up in a casino, there's lots of opportunity for the advantage players. And this crop was no different than any other. A lot of good opportunities if any of these games show up. So.
Do those things look sort of like, remember when National Lampoon Vacation when they went to Vegas and they had games like rock, paper, scissor and stuff? Is that what they look like?
Yeah, no, these are just more variations of blackjack and poker and dice in a table game, where they've come up with ways to have multiple side bets and ways for bigger payoffs more than 1-to-1.
Right.
So, but they're games where, boy, if you know some of the cards involved in play, they can be very good for the player. So.
Well, that's an interesting topic because of what just happened to Phil Ivey. I saw that Bob Dancer got quoted in an article regarding this, and they were saying that because Phil Ivey knew some of the cards in play, the games were deemed invalid. He lost all that money. Is that right? Am I getting that right?
You are getting that right, although I believe he's appealing it. And actually, talk about balls. Borgata is not only suing for the money that he won, they're also suing for the amount of EV, expected value, that they should have had if he were playing the game like a sucker. Which is
For those of you who watch my show, we talked about EV last week. I actually gave a guy an EV test, and none of them could pass it. So hopefully they know what EV is now.
Yeah.
Actually, that was just for one of my audience members. His name's Surf and Snowboard. If you put his brain in a canary, it would fly backwards. But anyway,
right.
That would be a good patent. Also, last week, the Lucky Dragon Casino, which is brand new in Las Vegas. It's on Sahara, about 1 block west of Las Vegas Boulevard. It had a soft opening.
Where's this one?
Primarily.
Where's this casino?
Lucky Dragon.
And where's it at again?
You know where the Golden Steer is?
Oh yeah, the Golden Steer. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right next to that.
It's right there.
And it's called. And so this is like an Asian themed casino, Lucky Dragon.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
All Asian restaurants inside. Definitely catering to the Chinese. It's almost all baccarat tables instead of blackjack or other games.
So do they have Ultimate Texas?
You know what? I don't know. Well, they just opened the other night, and I haven't been there yet.
Wait, I thought you guys were like famous advantage players. Aren't you in there looking for soft dealers?
Well, you know, my current thinking on that subject is to avoid the first week because, you know, all of the surveillance guys are there looking to see who shows up the first few days. So I like to wait a week or so.
You could wear a disguise, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
I like to.
That'd be pretty
as a video poker player, I like to show up on the first day.
Right.
After a little bit of time has gone. It opened up at 4 p.m, so I plan to be there at 2 a.m. to let people get out of there so I could go around and look.
Yeah.
And they have nothing.
So what are you looking for exactly, Bob? This is interesting. Are you looking for those elusive, what are they called, like 9-6 machines or something? Do those even exist anymore?
Oh, they definitely exist. They didn't have close to that.
Okay.
Their best game is 8-5 bonus, which is 99.2%.
Right.
With the right slot club, with the right promotions and mailers and things, that can be a positive game.
Right.
But they only had a few games in their $1 denomination.
But I mean, what you're saying is it's a positive game if you want to eat Kung Pao chicken at the casino every week, right? Like if you add in the lame ass comps.
Well, I suspect you can get shark fin soup, which is might be tastier than Kung Pao chicken.
Well, there you go.
But you can't get any money through. It's a dollar game.
Right.
And so to get the really nice comps, you need to get 100,000 through or 250,000 through.
Right.
And with a dollar game, you might get 4,000 or 5,000 through. So it takes just forever to get anything on a very marginal game. So video poker-wise, at least at the opening, is nothing. It's nothing to go through. The table games, we'll see. Richard will check it out in another week or so, and he'll be reporting on a later show maybe. So you listeners can, if they want to listen to go to gamblingwithanedge.com.
Right.
We post the shows every Thursday. So this one's going to be posted Thanksgiving evening.
Right.
And then every week on Thursday, a new show is posted.
I've always found that, I mean, in my experience, maybe they don't know me as well as they know Mr. Munchkin. Like they probably recognize his face immediately, so I understand his trepidation to walk in when all the security is there. But what I've noticed is in the very beginning, the first weeks of a casino, is when, especially at games that have a lot of rules the dealer has to follow, like Ultimate Texas Hold'em, they're making mountains and mountains of mistakes that can be steered very, very easily.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just for the last few years, the casinos have sort of learned that that's what happens on opening day, and
right.
There was one casino that opened within the last 2 years. They went in, they allowed the people in before they started dealing the games, and
right.
Before they actually started dealing the games, they went around to all the carnival games and basically barred all the guys sitting on third base that were wearing baseball hats.
Well, yeah, that's why you shouldn't do that.
Yeah,
you come in looking like me, man. You come in looking like a drunk. I stumbled into Cromwell the day that place opened, and basically what I did to them is illegal in 49 states. But, I just sat right in the middle of the table and misdeclared my hand every time and got paid, basically.
Wait, play what, Tiger Poker or?
Ultimate Texas.
Oh, wow. Wow.
They don't know how to read the board. These dealers, they never played Texas Hold'em, most of them, or they're horrible poker players. Half of them can't read the board. They think an ace-high straight beats a six-high straight. They're like, oh, yeah, you got ace, deuce, 3, 4, 5, and I got deuce, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I say I got ace-high straight, and they say, yeah, you win. They pay. They don't know. They have no fucking clue.
8 down to 3. That's a hell of a straight.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
That's what happened there for a while. I mean, the advantage players descended on that place like the plague. Then they got rid of it because you know what they tried to do? They tried to have all hot dealers. They wanted all hot chicks. And then after like 3 weeks of that, they said, screw this, and it's all ugly dealers because they needed people who actually knew the rules of the game.
Yeah, well, and usually the bosses don't even know the rules of the game. I've said often on the show that, my favorite time in the casino is when the boss comes up and he points down at the layout and starts reading the layout to try to figure out what the payoff is supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah, in video poker, the openings are lucrative. Frequently, the guy who's the new slot director was an assistant slot director at his last job.
Right.
And he doesn't think there's a big difference. So he talked himself into this job, but he gets there and he makes lots of mistakes because there is a difference between a slot director who's been through the works and the assistant slot director.
And also, a lot of times they want to give away money in the beginning, in their mailers and stuff. So if you get in there and give them some action, you might get something good in the mail.
What was your guys' take on the Phil Ivey thing? Do you think he should be paid or not paid?
Oh, God, he should be paid. Don't get me started because I'll get all fired up. But, basically...
Nick Munchkin, fired up alert. We got a fired up alert.
You're giving the casino a free roll, right? It's like if the casino wins, great, and if they lose, then they, sue to get their money back. It's like rewarding them for their own incompetence.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's criminal that they ruled that way.
I'm on that side. Although I did hear a pretty good argument. I was reading in one of the articles in the New York Times about it that said that there's a rule in New Jersey, tell me if you guys have heard this, that neither the house nor the player can know the next card off. If either the house or the player knows the next card off, the game is invalid. Did you guys hear about that?
Well, no, that rule doesn't surprise me, but Ivy didn't know the next card off. He knew that it might be a 6, 7, 8, or 9 with a certain percentage of accuracy. That's different than knowing the next card off.
Okay.
So,
if you put the shoe on the other foot, would it be okay for the house, like the house, to train their dealers to know what the next card off is with some degree of accuracy?
No, clearly not. As long as the dealer is going to keep dealing, currently the way the cheating laws are written in the state of Nevada, dealers cheat all the time because it says that they're not allowed to alter the odds of the game. And dealers do something called preferentially shuffling, where some dealers will count cards and shuffle the cards whenever the deck becomes favorable to the player. Well,
That's right.
Yeah, so by definition, they are cheating. But, of course...
Do you know there's a counter to that? Do you know the counter to that?
Well, lots of players have tried raising their bet with bad counts to induce the dealer to shuffle.
You just bet 10x on a negative deck and have them shuffle you out of all the negative decks.
Yeah, I had a friend who was actually barred for doing that.
I'm sure you can get barred for anything.
He wanted to show how stupid the casino was, so he basically played opposite the count, and he would jump his bet whenever the count got hugely negative. And, yeah, they barred him.
Yeah, it's a cat and mouse game. And at the end of the day, the casinos are private businesses, and they reserve the right to refuse service to anybody. I think the Ivy case very close. I can see some arguments on both sides. On the card counting, though, they absolutely have to pay you. I mean, you have no special information that everybody else doesn't have. I guess on edge sorting, you do have some special information that nobody else has.
Yeah, well, but because of these rulings, it's emboldened the casinos. And now I know of a couple of cases in England where they have just stolen the card counters' money because they said, we're private clubs, and it's against our rules of our club for you to count cards. You are counting cards, therefore we're just keeping your money. And that's happened to two people I know that's happened to. So
what do you guys like? Where do you guys draw the line? Like, what would you say about? Do you know what quadrupling down is?
Yeah, to me that's clearly cheating, right?
Okay. I just want to get an idea of it, like where you guys draw the line. I think quadrupling down is clearly cheating. I don't think dealer steering is cheating. I think the dealers should know the rules of the game, and if they don't, it's not as if the dealer's telling the players when they're making mistakes in a lot of circumstances because they don't even know if the player's made a mistake.
Right. Yeah, no, if dealers make mistakes in my favor, I feel no compunction to correct them.
Right.
Yeah, so.
But quadrupling down.
Yeah, quadrupling down, to me, that's cheating. And, I played with computers when computers were legal, right? Well, then they made them illegal. Well, now it's illegal. So now it's cheating before it wasn't,
My audience wants to know what quadrupling down is. Do you want me to explain it, or do you want me to not waste time?
Sure. Yeah. No, you can explain it. Go ahead.
Quadrupling down is when you're the last player to act in a blackjack game generally, and you have a double down hand, like you have 7-4 or something. The dealer's looking at the first player to act, and you put your double down money on top of your original bet. Then when the dealer gets you, you have your 7 and 4 turned over. They say, do you want to double down? You say, of course I want to double down. Then you slide out another 2 bets, so you get to quadruple down. I would never, ever suggest this, much like Mr. Munchkin. I consider it beyond the pale. But that's what quadrupling down is, and a lot of professional advantage players walk that line right there. That's probably the one thing that you can get, like, a professional advantage player to say, like, yeah, I do that sometimes.
Yeah, with me, I for myself, I draw the line at what I think is illegal. I don't want to risk, because if you do get arrested for that kind of stuff, it sort of gives the whole profession a bad name,
Right.
The press is kind of already trying to lump us in with cheaters, right? They, I still get that question all the time from square people when I say, something about counting cards all the time. I get, well, isn't that cheating?
Right.
So I want to.
In all honesty, is there really, because I don't know anybody who just does advantage play anymore. Really, is there isn't an advantage play career anymore, truthfully.
Oh, sure there is. Yeah. I don't know anybody who just counts cards anymore, or very, very few people. But if you add in other forms of advantage play, yeah, I know a lot of people who actually make their living just gambling.
So what do they do? Yeah, it's just gambling because most of them play poker. What are you putting in there that doesn't count poker?
Oh, sports betting, playing hole cards.
Video poker.
Poker. Yeah.
Video poker. But, they open a new casino, Bob, to you, Bob, and there isn't even any video poker worth playing. Like, how much damage could a professional video poker really do outside of, like, having their family stay in hotels for free whenever they wanted and eating a lot of free casino food?
I don't really understand your question. 2 years ago,
how much money can you really take out of a casino as a professional video poker player?
Well, I don't know. 2 years ago when the SLS opened up, I definitely went in the first weekend, cleared a little over 100,000.
Wow.
Hoping for good mailers, and they basically never sent me anything.
So they gave you 100. So you cleared 100,000 cash on what, like the $5 spin games? Which game were you playing?
It was a $25 10-6-40 double bonus.
But I would say there are at least a few dozen people who make six figures a year playing video poker.
What would you have said your expected value was in that weekend, though?
My expected value?
Yeah.
Probably $25,000.
That's good. That's really good. And then did you immediately get backed off after one weekend, or can you go back there?
Oh, I can always go back there. I just, but they took out most of the games.
Right.
There's nothing worth playing there.
So do you think, Bob, do you think that they put those games in just to get the word around, to get some people in there, or did they actually make a mistake when they put the games in?
Well, the slot director in his previous job was an assistant slot director.
Right.
He thought so. There were several games that were 99.9%.
Right.
And they had a cash club, and these were $25 games, meaning you bet $125 a hand.
Right.
And they were $100 games, meaning you bet $500 a hand.
Right.
And they would match any offer you had.
Okay.
So if any offer you had gave you front money to come in, they would match that.
Okay.
So the biggest one I had was for $5,000.
Okay.
So they gave me $5,000 to start with.
Right.
And let me play a game where I had the advantage. And
well, it said you were 99.9%.
Yeah, before the slot club, before the mailers, before the comps.
Right. Okay, but we're talking. I was trying to get to the actual cash. So they want you had a deal where you got to run 5,000 through a machine. Is that correct? You run 5,000 through, and then they let you. Is that it?
Yeah, it was 5,000 in free play, so you had to run it through.
Right.
But yes, so running it through on a 99.9% game, it's basically worth the full 5,000.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
So you had
for 8 hours.
So you had five. You actually had probably. I mean, if you wouldn't have had that run through though, you wouldn't have had any advantage on that game other than the comps, right?
Well, but they send you cash in the mail. They send you actual money in the mail for playing.
Free play. They send you the free plays.
Yeah.
Right. How much free play did they send you for that weekend, Bob?
Well, it's a round number, somewhat less than $1.
Yeah, because I thought you said that they basically banned you. So I mean, how did you actually realize the 100,000? That's what I'm wondering. How did you actually realize that, other than just running hot?
I hit a royal flush. A royal flush on that game is
just running hot. You can't fucking say that because you hit a royal flush that it was an advantage play. I could go hit win a lottery, right?
No, but he did have probably 20,000 in EV, right? I mean, because they gave him 5,000 to show up.
Yeah, but that's 5,000 in EV. That's 99% of 5,000.
Well, I played that weekend 600,000 coin in. Meaning that takes a while.
Right.
And usually when you have that kind of coin in, they send you 10,000 a month, 20,000 a month, or more in weekly mailers. You get a weekly check in the mail of $5,000 just to show up and play.
Usually they do, but in this instance they didn't. I mean, I'm trying to figure this out. I want to make some money here, but I'm not hearing I'm not hearing it. You know, I'm hearing that.
Well, they would if I didn't hit it. I mean, those games were gone 2 days later.
Right.
So,
I mean, but that just shows you how stupid they are, right? I mean, that they would try to alienate a player that gave them $600,000 worth of action, but because he got lucky and hit a royal, they don't want to, they don't want his business.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. I get everything you're saying. I get 100% of what you're saying. I'm just trying to figure out, because I don't know. I know some guys who have a tiny percent of their advantage play portfolio still in video poker, but they're basically doing it just for that, getting some sort of free play coupons and getting comps. They're not can't actually make any money at the games anymore.
No, yeah, you can't make money at the game itself. It's all based on the mail and the slot club and.
Right. Yeah, a lifetime supply of Kung Pao chicken. Absolutely. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that?
Well, you can make considerable, in six figures, not including the comps.
Right.
You can do six figures of cash
right.
a year playing video poker.
Right. Okay. I mean, have you ever heard of a situation where they sent you the free play and then they canceled it because they figured out that you were, no value to them, or do they always say okay with the free play?
Well, I'm pretty well known,
right?
And they know that I'm Bob Dancer.
Well, who doesn't?
And that I write columns and teach classes and blah blah blah. So they pretty well know what they're going to. So when they send me free play, they know it's coming to me.
Right.
And so when I've gotten a free play offer, they have been honored.
Right.
But I know other players that they show up and then they're not honored.
Right, yeah, that's what I've heard too. I just wondered if you've heard the same thing I've heard. I have a friend who got a bunch of free plays, and then once they figured out that he was a waste of time for the casino because of some of the other things that he was doing, they basically canceled all of his free plays.
Yeah, well, the other thing they do is they steal your, you accrue these points, right? And some people use them for comps, but often they can be cashed in for cash back or whatever. And certainly there are cases where they just take all their comp money. I mean, they just throw out to people's accounts.
Hey, what do you and Bob, I got a question. What do you guys think about that dude who figured out that when he hit like a royal, a fork high, whatever he hit, that he could go back and change the denomination of the spin? What do you think about that guy? Should he have been able to keep the money or not keep the money?
I thought he was cheating.
Okay.
He got to keep.
I thought he should get to keep the money.
Oh wow, we got a battle here. Okay, let's hear the sides on this.
Well, yeah, as I say, I just thought the machine was making an error, and he discovered it, and I thought he should get to keep the money.
Okay. Answer?
Well, the way this worked, and it was done primarily at the Silverton Casino in Vegas and the Meadows Casino in Pittsburgh.
Right.
Is under certain. So when he gets a four of a kind,
right,
there is a way that he can change the denomination of the machine.
Yeah, that's right.
So he plays for dollars, and he gets a four of a kind, say 4 deuces, and then automatically he does a certain series of maneuvers, and it becomes a $10 machine.
That's right.
And so he's getting paid for a four of a kind on a $10 machine when he's actually only risking the money on a $1 machine.
Right.
And that's bad?
You explained it. Now, should he not? But I mean, he didn't invent the machine. It was put there. The machine's rigged against him, basically. So, like, he figured out a way. He didn't break the machine. He didn't hack the machine. He just used the things that were there.
If you will, I think it's cheating.
Okay.
But
so, Dancer, tell the truth. If you discovered this, would you go like running to the pit boss, or would you, hit a couple quads just once or twice for fun?
Well, it isn't really something you discover. It's something you're kind of told about, or it's a back door that's put in there by the programmers intentionally.
Okay, now wait. Now I would let me amend my answer. If they were told this by the guy who programmed the machine, then yes, I agree 100% it's cheating. But, I thought they investigated that pretty thoroughly and determined that they had not been told this by the programmers, that there was no connection.
That's the same thing I heard, and there weren't any criminal charges, insider or hacking or anything like this.
Right.
Well, as I understood it, is they couldn't prove there was inside info. So whatever was there, they couldn't prove it, which is different than it didn't happen.
Right.
Possibly similar of something that I personally did that I wrote about in my $1 Million Video Poker autobiography back in the year 2000 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas. They had a series of video poker machines that were paying slot club points based on a slot machine.
Right.
So this was, by playing this a lot, this was I got approximately $100,000 extra in terms of free play and 3 automobiles from playing it on a machine that I knew was giving me slot club points instead of video poker points.
Right.
I didn't consider that cheating. However, I did talk to an attorney before I wrote about it.
Okay. So you didn't have any sleepless nights, any guilt-ridden nights of just you and the bottle trying to get to the heart of what you thought you could get away with there?
Well, for whatever reason, I was a teetotaler at that time.
Oh.
And so you never know exactly what's going to happen. It's always a educated guess.
Right.
Sometimes not so educated, because you're trying to figure out what the other side's going to do.
Right.
So it's just like when you're raising in poker and you don't really know what the other side has. It can be, it's almost never, relatively rarely do you have 100% luck.
Right.
Usually you're making your bets when the probabilities are in your favor, but it's not a lock.
Right. Now what about, sometimes these books, they hang bad sports bets, like they'll hang a line that they made a mistake on, or that their mathematicians crunched the numbers wrong, on like things like, what's likely to happen first, a field goal, a safety, a touchdown, blah, blah, blah. How do you feel about when they hang a bad line and sharps come in and hammer that line? Should they have to pay that line?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I think I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Right.
And the books know who the key players are, and if they keep getting hammered on one side, they move the line. So they use these early bettors, these early sharps, in order to move the line and make the money off the squares later.
Right. Now here, I got another ethics question. I like this. I like asking you ethics questions. If you had,
I thought we were going to interview you tonight, but silly, what did I know?
Hey, I'm having more fun this way, Bob.
Okay. If you know how casinos discontinue chips all the time, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, let's say that you have a $1,000 chip and they discontinued it, right? But you didn't turn it in time, but you saw the $1,000 chip. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay to pay for a hooker with that $1,000 chip?
In other words, I owe Richard $1,000, and so I pay him with a chip that I know is expired.
Right.
And you want to know if that's okay?
I didn't know that Richard was a hooker, but now it's come out now.
Oh, I didn't hear the hooker part, but and that's not part of our friendship, actually, at least so far. But so if I wanted to keep this friendship, I would not give anybody. So no, you don't knowingly pass. That's like passing a bill that you know is.
I do have to say, I do have a friend. Actually, it's a mutual friend of Bob and mine who they did exactly that when the Thunderbird closed. That's how long ago this was. They were in a frat at UNLV, and Yeah, they got a bunch of these chips from the Thunderbird, and I think they had changed to the Silverbird or something, whatever. And, yeah, they threw a big party, invited a bunch of hookers, and paid them with these chips that were absolutely worthless.
Yeah, I mean, apparently Bob is looking for a hooker with a heart of gold. More power to you, brother. We don't want to mess up any personal relationships that you have, but it sounds like Mr. Munchkin is telling you, Bob, if you ever come across any of these chips, just float them his direction. He'll take care of it.
No, actually, hookers are small business owners, and they should be supported. And I don't think that's right to pass them a phony chip. Yeah.
Hey, we're learning. We're learning lots of stuff here. I'm just trying to, I like these. You guys are like my moral compass.
No, there's a frightening thought.
So, okay, let's get back on track. Very, very sorry. What were your questions for me here?
All right. So last year when you were on our show,
right,
you said the Live at the Bike database
right.
was going to become more user-friendly and more searchable.
Yes.
Did that happen?
Yes, it's much more searchable at this point. You can search by player, stakes, I think commentator, date, obviously. There's a whole bunch of different parameters you can search by. So, like, if you went there right now and you typed in Limon, you could see all the shows that I played on, so on and so forth. Or if you typed in Pot Limit Omaha, you could see all the Pot Limit Omaha shows. It's pretty easy to use, and I'll make an announcement right now, even though I probably shouldn't because it's not finished. But since I made that announcement on the last time I talked to you guys, I'll make a new announcement. The new announcement is we are going to be releasing a product, probably. Come on, don't hold me to this, but I mean, we're working on it. We are very, very close to releasing a product in conjunction with Red Chip Poker that lets you search by the hand. So you can type in Check Raise River or Donk Lead and bring up just the hands that have that specific poker play, and then there will be unique individual commentary over each of those plays, not the original commentary where, like, I'm belly dancing or whatever. Actual poker commentary explaining what's going on and explaining why that play is good or bad or what should have been done, bet sizing and tells and everything else. That's going to be in conjunction with Red Chip Poker and Live at the Bike. That's going to be a separate product. Don't get too excited because we got to pay Red Chip and everything else. And so, I mean, but that's coming. It's going to be the first searchable live hand history database in the history of the world. So I'm announcing that right now.
Is Red Chip Poker, is Ed Miller associated with that?
Yeah, Ed Miller is one of the owners, James Sweeney, Doug Hull.
So now let me ask you a question. If I go to this database and I type in Phil Hellmuth, what's going to come up?
For Live at the Bike, not much. I don't know that I think he's only played on Live at the Bike one time. So you'll probably get one show with Phil Hellmuth.
Oh, he actually played. Wow, okay. That's more than I was expecting.
I mean, I don't know all the people that have played on the show. I know Antonio Esfandiari's played many times. Phil Locke's played many times. So many pros have played on the show. I don't know them all. I really don't go back and watch the shows with the famous tournament pros on them. I'm more interested in the shows with my immediate opponents on them or the people who I hang out with on a daily basis. But yeah, if you look through the names of the players on the show, you'll see lots of famous names. I can't remember, but I think Phil Hellmuth has been on one time.
Oh.
So when these famous players show up to play in at the Bike,
right,
do people rush to get at their table, or do they run like those guys are so good I don't want any part of them?
No, they rush to get at the table. And I mean, people like your average, because you got to think, it's like if your average recreational baseball player or baseball fan got to go up and take a chance to hit off of Nolan Ryan or whatever, I'm dating myself, or Clayton Kershaw, or if your average football fan got to, catch some passes from Peyton Manning or whatever, they're going to want to do it. Now, even though it probably will cost a little bit of money to play these hands with their hero or whatever, most recreational players enjoy playing with famous professional players. They want to play with famous professional players.
Huh.
That said, and this brings me to something else. I won't talk about it right now. It's a stupid tournament thing. You guys don't care. But, I mean, recreational poker players like to play with people that they've seen on TV. Definitely.
Yeah, that makes sense. I buy that.
Well, now, these well-known people are basically successful tournament players. Do you think, in general, tournaments are good for poker? That seemed to be where you were heading before you cut yourself off.
Well, I think I've talked about this a lot, maybe even on your last show. No, I do not think that they are good for poker. I think it's fool's gold. I think it's a sugar rush to the casino for a very short period of time, and then the casino goes back to being dead as a doorknob. Once the circus leaves town, all the clowns leave with it. And many casinos have figured this out, and we've seen a big scaling back on the way that tournaments are presented because of the fact that they aren't really good for the poker culture of the casino. It's more like a big lottery rolling through town, and all of your customers going and wasting their money on the lottery and then not having money to actually buy your products on a day-to-day basis.
Interesting.
Okay. The biggest tournament, World Series of Poker, was just finished up less than a month ago. Happened over the summer, as always. Do you have any thoughts on the 2016 World Series of Poker?
I usually don't really watch it all, but this year there was so much buzz about this Kafloof guy and then about the Qui Wen guy. What is that?
I don't know that.
Bob, did you just input into Richard?
No, and I wasn't even thinking about inputting into Richard.
Yeah, apparently your input is invalid. Did you try to use a Thunderbird casino chip?
Right.
You caught me again. So you're talking about watching Qui Wen.
Yeah, so we had Qui Wen and we had Kafloof, and there's a lot of buzz. And so I went and checked it out, and they were actually more exciting than the average tournament player. I especially like this heads-up final with Qui Wen versus the bio guy. It wasn't necessarily great poker or anything, but it was entertaining. And you saw the bio guy basically playing small ball, and the Qui Wen guy was playing big balls. It was like small ball versus big balls. And usually the small ball guy always grinds down the big balls guy, and all the poker nerds at home are happy, but the general public is not happy. In this instance, the big balls guy won, and he beat the small ball guy. And it was a big victory for big balls. And I think that's good for poker in the long run.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Changing subjects a little bit. In the Nevada election, and California as well,
right?
Using marijuana in private passed.
Right.
So starting in January in Nevada, you can have a small amount of marijuana on you without risking bad things. Now, the Gaming Control Board, who runs gambling in Nevada, they believe that everywhere in a casino constitutes a public place, and marijuana still remains illegal there, including hotel rooms and any place else in a casino. Although this may change, any visitors who go to Nevada should generally be aware of how things are looked at here.
Right.
Now, California is ahead of Nevada on that particular curve.
Right.
How is marijuana in casinos handled over there?
Well, I mean, you can't smoke marijuana in a casino, obviously. Some people have these, like, vaporizers, and supposedly you can't smell it, but you still can. It still just smells weird. I don't really care about it. They made the vaporizers illegal inside the casino as well. Basically what you get is a lot of guys in the parking lot, like hot boxing in their car. I mean, most of the parking lots in Los Angeles basically look like a Cheech and Chong movie. It's insane. Like it's just like you see like a car just filled with smoke, and then you can't even see the human in there. Then they open the car door. They're coughing and shit, you know. If you don't cough, you can't get off, all that nonsense. And then they roll back into the casino. And, I mean, they stink so bad. Oh, God, they stink bad. But, I mean, if the smell of your opponents in a poker game is what you're coming to the casino for, you're not going to have a good time anyway. So, I mean, yeah, everybody stinks. They stink really bad. But at least, I mean, the weird thing about marijuana, though, is you don't really know whether it makes the person play better or worse. That's the fucking bad part. Because they come in, they obviously reek of marijuana. They smell like they fucking just ate a skunk's ass. And, but there's no, you can't make an immediate correlation to their style of play. Because some people start playing more hands and some people start playing less hands. Some people start playing more aggressive. Some people start playing less aggressive. So I wish that I wish the drug had a more unifying or like whatever standard effect on people, because you can smell when they've had it. But it is what it is. I mean, it's part of the 21st century now, and it ain't going anywhere.
That surprises me that you say you can't tell if they play better or worse. I mean, I just would assume that they would have to play worse, but I don't know. Maybe some people do play better.
Well, for some, and I know some guys who definitely play better because they have tilt issues, and they get very anxious, and when they go out and fucking go Cheech and Chong in their car and then come back, they're just very, they're not on edge anymore. They're not tilty. They're not trying to play too many hands. They're more, it sounds strange, but they're strangely more clear-headed. These weren't winning players, by the way. They were never winning players. But
yeah.
They don't become bigger losers, and they don't lose in any, like, consistent way. So I used to think the same thing as you, Richard. I used to think, oh, this guy just came back from his car. He reeks like fucking weed. He's going to be all spacey. He's going to play bad. And I sort of found out the hard way that they don't really play. You can't do that. Like they're going to play different possibly, but it's not going to be like correlated to their marijuana use in a consistent way.
I used to, play a lot of backgammon when it was popular in the 70s and 80s. And at that time, cocaine was really popular. And, people just did it openly a lot.
Right.
And definitely people played worse backgammon when they were on cocaine. They all thought they played a lot better, but,
right.
They actually played worse.
I would guess that cocaine has a more standard effect on people. Like, it's generally going to make you, a little bit more hyper, a little bit more intense, a little bit more wanting to be there, wanting to be in the middle of things. I think cocaine would probably be really, really bad for a poker player, although, I mean, some guys have obviously used a lot of it. I'm thinking, I'm not going to say any names. But they're generally...
Well, you can say Stu Unger. But
oh, yeah, you can say Stu Unger, yeah.
Yeah, he won't get back at you.
No, he won't get back at you, that's for sure. That's true. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, Adderall, yeah, a lot of poker players use Adderall. Apparently it focuses them, it helps them stay up for long sessions. Yeah, whatever. What can you do?
Yeah. Sometimes in live poker games on television, they feature a run it twice or run it 4 times,
right?
Something like that.
Right.
How common is that at the bike?
At LA casinos, it's common. It gets more common the bigger the game gets. It's not common at all below like uncapped. It's not common at all in capped games below maybe like the 10-20 level. Below the 10-20 no limit level, probably 5-5-10 PLO level uncapped, you don't see it at all, and it's basically not allowed. The casino doesn't allow it because it slows the game down too much. Once you get into bigger games, uncapped 10-20 type games, you're going to see it more often. The casino allows it even though it slows the game down because it actually keeps the players in action and it lowers the variance. And recreational players tend to like running it twice a lot more than professional players. And since the casino is in the business of keeping the recreational players happy, they generally allow it. Like in the game that I play in on a regular basis, which is 5-5-10 PLO, I would say somebody's running it twice at least once an hour, maybe twice an hour.
Yeah, well, I would think that's I don't understand why the professionals don't like it. If it keeps the non-pros in the game longer, it would seem to me it'd be good for them.
There's different trains of thought. The main train of thought amongst I would say very by-the-book pros is it hurts their hands per hour, number one. And number two, it hurts their psychological ascendancy because they feel that they keep players off of their back by having a certain level of bravery or I don't give a fuck. And so by running it twice is almost like an admission that you'd like to lower your variance. And so the toughest players tend to always run it once, the very, very toughest players. Now, the smartest players will run it twice in a lot of situations with recreationals, and it's not because they're scared money. It's because doing that with a recreational player causes the recreational player to play much, much worse against you, in my opinion.
Why?
How
did that happen?
The reason why recreational players many recreational players play much, much worse against you when you will run it twice with them is because they're more likely to make horrifically bad calls against you because they know that they can run it twice and probably get half of their money back. At least in their mind, they think that they can get half of their money back. So if you just say, there's guys in my game, professional players, who only run it once, period, end of story. You don't even have to ask. They're never going to run it twice under any circumstance. And the recreational players don't pay them off as light as I get paid off. I get paid off so freaking insanely light. People want to gamble with me. People think I'm a sport. They want to have a good time with me. And they know that I'm going to run it twice with them. And so because of that, they say, I know that my gut shot isn't good here, but fuck it, let's just run it twice. And we run it twice. And a lot of times they get half their money back, and they feel so happy about it that they're going to do it again and again and again. You got to remember, one of the first rules of poker is to take the mistakes your opponents make and encourage them to make that mistake more and more and more. The biggest mistake that recreationals make is calling too much. I would never have a play in my arsenal that caused them to not call more. So by having them know that I will run it twice with them, and I don't run it twice with everyone, I don't run it twice with the other pros, by having that in my arsenal, that I will run it twice with these recreational players, it causes them to call. They call so much because they feel like there's a really good chance they're going to get half their money back. Of course, there isn't a really good chance. There's probably a 25% chance. But 25% is a big number to a gambler,
Yeah. Yeah, advertising. Yeah, smart.
Yep. That's the way I do it. And that's why people want to gamble with me, That's why I can host a game and other guys can't host the game.
All right, we're talking to Abe Limon, poker host, player, commentator from Los Angeles. We're going to run a few commercials now, and afterwards, Abe's going to ask some of his guests to call in for questions for Richard.
Oh, that's going to be great. No, you're going to be Bob.
What do you mean just for me? What about you, Bob?
Oh, well, I'm not looking forward to that part of it, but we'll see what happens. Okay, I'll be here.
Okay.
The South Point has more than 10,000 games, returning more than 99%. This is more than anybody else has. In November, you can earn Smith's gift cards at half the price. Usually you pay 8,334 points. You earn $25 in cash back or free play. In November, the same number of points earned and redeemed gives you $50 Smith's gift cards. Limited 10 cards per month. On the day this is posted, Thanksgiving, there are double points, midnight to midnight. It's the gift cards on base points, but you still get the double points. At videopoker.com, it's the best place to play lots of games. If you sign up for the gold membership, $8.95 a month or $79.95 a year, this allows you to get corrections on most of the games. The game of the week is Split Poker. This is a 10-coin per line game. Periodically on the deal or the draw, you get a split card. It can be any unseen card plus one additional card of the same suit. The split card will, with equal probability, be one card higher or lower or the same. For example, if the 7 of hearts is a split card, it's equally likely that the accompanying card is a 6 of hearts, 8 of hearts, or another 7 of hearts. 5 of a kind in this game pays 5,000 coins. All right, Abe. So you got people over there who want to ask questions?
Hey, okay, yeah. I put on a little music there. Okay, sure. Okay, everybody. Anybody wants to talk to Bob Dancer, Richard Munchkin here, Dancer and Munchkin? Let's call in right now. Phone lines are open. Some people were calling in while you were doing the commercial. Hopefully, I hung up on them. Hopefully, they'll call back.
That's you said you never do anything. You never have anything in your arsenal to keep people from calling less, and that you hang up on them. That sounds like something in your arsenal. That's calling on the phone less. I have a lot of things in my arsenal. Definitely have a lot. Okay, here we go. Let's take the first call. Oh, okay. Come on. Hold on. I accidentally just hung up on the first call. Sorry.
Have you done this much before?
I usually don't have like 3 people on the line, so I gotta see where the call is from and get it in here. But we're gonna get some callers. I'm on a slight delay, but the calls should start coming in here anyway. Do you find any sort of Bob and Richard? Do you find any sort of conflict of interest to do like an advantage play show and then advertise for the casinos? Do the casinos ever get mad at you?
That's one of the first questions I asked Bob when I joined him on this show. How did you get casinos to sponsor us? It's only one casino, but there are
it has been more than one.
In the past, yeah.
The casinos know that players listen to the show, and that I will tell the players that I play at the South Point. Right. I think it's a good place to play. Right. I teach classes there, and they like players are thinking, well, if it's a good place to play for Bob Dancer, it's probably good for me to play there too.
Right.
So they look at it as a cost of advertising, and I'm sure they evaluate it. South Point, the owner, is Michael Gaughan. He's been a guest on our show 2 or 3 times.
Right.
And
well, also, he's smart enough to realize that, if Bob teaches a class in video poker in the lounge, people are not good enough to take one class and suddenly go out and be a winning player,
Right. Thank you, Bob and Richard. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for being on the show. Come back anytime.
Okay, thanks a lot.
There they go.
Our thanks to Limon. Thank you, Bob. Go out and hit lots of row flushes, everybody. Good night.